So today on John's Garage, we're going to update our garage lighting from old-fashioned fluorescent to modern LED. So what we have in there right now is T12, F40 T12 bulbs, and they're Daylight Deluxe, which is 6500. So the specs on that: 6500K, 2325 lumens, color rendering index 84, and we're going to go to double-ended ballast bypass or removal, 6500K, 4 foot. What else does it tell us? They're 22 watt. So we're going to go from 40 watts to 22 watts on each bulb. Now, since we are on old-fashioned T12s, the Tombstones need to be changed. These are shunted T8. The size of T12 and T8 are the same. So rather than having non-shunted on the old-fashioned T12, just need one wire. We'll light up both sides, and we're going to go with double-ended. So we'll put a black wire at one end, a white wire at the other end of the same bulb. A couple different ways you can wire these. You can go with single-ended. I was unable to find bulbs in stock, so I went with double-ended, which if you already have non-shunted Tombstones, you don't have to change them. Double-ended is the way to go. Just have to remove the ballast. And I'm actually going to change the wire color. I don't want to use the ballast wire. I prefer to go with this is just yellow wrapper on here. This is black wire and this is white wire, and to be consistent with the house wiring. So the house wiring has a black and a white for hot and neutral. And so put a black wire here, white wire here, and that'll be our double-ended bulb. I forgot to mention, this one spec did not show on the box, but these lights that I got from LEDradiant.com, it says on their site they're 2900 lumens, and the color rendering index is 83, so similar to the fluorescents. But because fluorescents spread the light all around the tube, and these direct the light down, I think I might get more light out of them. Definitely cut the energy bill in half. Tool. If you ever want to get a wire out, you just press this large paper clip in there and then pull the wire out. So how do you know if your tombstone is shunted or non-shunted? So let's put this meter onto tone. Okay, we got tone. Touch both sides of the tombstone. We got tone. So these are shunted. The bottom is connected, so both sides are 1. The ones that I have in the ceiling right now are the old-fashioned ones, and you know, they were put in 19 years ago, way before LEDs were popular. So those have wires on both sides, and if you pull the wires out so that your ballast is not in the loop anymore, because the ballast will give you a false signal completing that loop. So take your paper clip, pull the wires out, and then do the tone test, and those are non-shunted, which won't work for double-ended ballasts. If you go with single-ended, they might be okay, but we want these shunted tombstones. They call these tombstones because they look like a graveyard tombstone. Okay, so we got the power off. We removed the cover. Now let's remove the bulbs. Turn them and get them out. You should have some kind of cover Different models open differently. This one you just squeeze and get the ballast cover off. And there's the ballast. We want to make that go away. There we go. That's going to go away. You can see these tombstones here, the way they're wired, kind of a giveaway that these are non-shunted. I already pulled these wires out and tested. They are non-shunted. There's no tone, so these are not connected. So we're going to remove these, and basically you take this cover off. There's some screws here on this model. A screw here and a screw here. Take the screws off, take this end cover out, and the tombstones slide out. And then you slide the new ones in. You can see how they're a little groove there they're held on with. And then you cut these wires, and you could reuse some of these wires that are in here if they're long enough to reach your tombstone. You're going to have all sorts of different colors, and for consistency on mine, I just want a black wire at one end, a white wire at the other, and I'm going to run the wire from the house. I need a grommet in there. I bought some grommets. The house wire, the black wire and white wire. You can see like these would be, if these were long enough, I'm going to have a black and a white wire. And you could go into one and then jumper like they've done here. You could jumper, but I'm not going to jumper. I'm just going to run a wire because I got a big roll. So I'll take the black wire from the house, put 2 black wires on it, put one there, go to the other end, take the white wire and put the white on each tombstone and eliminate this. This is always a possible source of a failure, and it consumes energy. Wire that I'm using. So this is a solid wire, not stranded, twisted. This is TFN, and it's 600. It's 18 gauge, American wire gauge, and 600 volt TFN. So it is designed for fixtures. So 18 gauge is the thickness that you need for tombstones, and it is good for use in fixtures, TFN. Okay, it must be rated 600 volt TFN 18 AWG. Is down. We have our white wires together, black wires together. That's what we're going to tie into. Here's our ground wire. It is affixed to the metal box, and it is bonded with the house ground. So the box is grounded, the fixture is grounded when we attach to the fixture. So we'll just run our black wire off of here, our white wire off of here. We'll run one white to each tombstone at one end, one black to each tombstone at the other end for our double-ended LED. So let's just take out our tombstones. Take off a screw at that end. So take this off. The tombstones just slide out. There we go. They just slide out. There we go. I'm not going to cut this wire because we're changing the tombstones. So the whole ballast will come out with the tombstones. No more ballast. And now we've got that out of the way. Go. And we'll do the other end tombstones. Okay, so this whole ballast with tombstones can either go in the garbage or be sold on Craigslist to someone else that still has fluorescent lights. So I don't need it anymore. Now I'll go ahead and put the end piece on. There we go. Put those screws in. That way I can see how far I got to push the tombstones. Okay, got my end piece on, take my tombstone, line up these little slots, slide it in there and give it a very firm push. It has to go all the way back against that plate. There. So, there we go. Tombstones are in. Now we just need to put our wires in the ceiling and decide which end we're going to make black and white. Some of these 1/2-inch PVC grommets. So we'll make this safe so there's no sharp edges on our wires. Should have done this last time. There we go. Now when our wires come through, they won't be sharp. Here's our new bulb, LED tube, aluminum cooling on the back for heat dissipation. It says here ballast needs to be removed. Neutral at one end, line hot at the other. Doesn't specify which end of the tube, so could be either. That's the LED, so I hooked up a tombstone, white wire at one end, black wire at the other, and then typically on an outlet, the white wire is the, if it's polarized, it'll be the fatter of the two, and the black wire is the smaller of the two. So let's test if these are polarized at all, these tubes. So let's see what happens to this light. We go the traditional way, white in the big slot and black in the smaller slot. Oops. And it turns on. Let's switch the wires the other way, and it turns on. So it doesn't matter on these bulbs. When you install the bulb in the fixture, if it goes this way or that way, it doesn't matter. I've seen some sold that has an L and an N marked on the bulb. This is not marked, so apparently it doesn't matter. It'll work either way, and I just proved that with the electrical outlet. So we're ready to install the fixture back in the ceiling. I get the wire out of a tombstone. This is a shunted tombstone, just one wire. So put your paper clip in the same hole above the wire. Push down, the wire comes out. The wire length on these needs to be stripped to 3/8 of an inch. So be right to there. I'm going to take a little more off of this. That is 1, 2, 3/8. Yeah, that's 3/8. Usually they give you a, there we go. So on these particular tombstones, if I put the wire like that, that would be my strip gauge. So I'd know how much. Let's put it in there and see if it seats all the way with the insulation not exposing bare wire. There we go. So we need to make sure all of our wires are stripped that far. 2 white wires and twist them on. Wrap the insulation a couple twists and then take our pliers take our pliers and twist this so that they're bonded really well. And take the appropriate size connector for this many wires. Make sure it's going to cover all the bare copper. Twist that on there. Get that good and tight. And I'll wrap some electrical tape, just a couple of wraps around the end there too. Let's do the same thing with the black wires on here. Add 2 black wires that are 18 gauge. Okay, we've got our 2 black wires on. Wire nut. Put a little tape on there to hold the wire nut in place. Okay, so I'm using these number 10 by 1.5 screws and driving these up into the piece of wood in the ceiling. And these are, and you could do chin-ups on this light. These things are really in there. And then we've got screws into the metal fixture box. This thing is really up there. So we've got 2, 4, that's just for my reference. And now we got the wires. We're going to ground this right here, and then we're going to run white to one end, black to the other. Let me think about which end. Doesn't make any difference. These bulbs work either way, and they're double-ended, so depending if you're putting your bulb in this way or facing the other way, doesn't matter. Here's the wiring I'm going with. Got my ground. Got both black coming down here. You can use either hole. I'm just going to use the outer one on both. And just give my wires a little twist to get them out of the way. White to the other end. Doesn't matter which hole. So that's what I'm going with. Now let me stick the bulb in. Okay, so just for consistency, this diagram shows the N at this end. So that would be the white wire. So I'll go with the tag next to my white wire. It works either way, but for consistency, I'll do that. I turned on the power. Let's see if it lights up. Okay. Now let's put our wire cover and then our diffuser on and see how it compares. Okay, since the maker of these bulbs or the shipper did not include any warning labels, I made my own. It says ballast removed. Use double-ended LED tube only. So if I sell the house or something and someone else moves in, they don't stick a fluorescent tube in there. Comparison. See which one turns on faster, which one's brighter. Only the one is LED. So looks like it shines through the diffuser a little more. Brightness, I don't know, probably about the same. Wish I had a light meter. If I had a light meter, I could tell exactly. Okay, there's one. You can't see it on camera, but you can see the individual bulbs. You can even almost see the 2 rows of LEDs in each one. And that is fluorescent. And that is LED. They're the same color, K. Let's see, we got the edge of both of them in there. I'm looking at the paint on the ceiling, and yeah, the LED is a little brighter. Yeah, when we get them all done, we'll see. And what do you think, guys? Here we go. Whew. They come on quick. We got 6 lights now. Definitely looks brighter in here, so we'll call that job done. So another reason that I wanted LED lights is during the winter, the ones closest to the doors, first would be that one, then that one, then that one, they wouldn't turn on. When it gets to 35 degrees, 32 degrees, fluorescent lights don't work well under 40 degrees. And when it's raining outside and it's freezing cold, anyway, these LEDs should work regardless of temperature because they even use LEDs inside of refrigerators. when you open the door, it's LED lights now. So these should work a lot better in the winter. You won't have the humming, you won't have the blinking, you won't have the lights that won't turn on, or they come on really dim when it's cold and then they get brighter as the room warms up. None of that with LEDs, so this should be great.